building wealth, it's a very simple formula. Spend less than what you make and invest the difference. Period.
Think about in your own life and your own businesses, like what is the thing you're looking forward to and excited about? And it could even be small. Like one of my phrases I like is put it on the calendar. What's on the calendar? What are you looking forward to?
Jump and the net will appear. Who I am now as a risk taker is so different than who I was when I began. And the way that you strengthen that risk muscle is by taking risks.
It's just go out and do something. Like take that next step. There's so many people I talk to that get stuck, right? And where do they get stuck? It's like, okay, I need a business plan. I need to do this. I need a first customer. Yeah, okay, right? But like, how about just call someone and ask them, do you want this service, right? Like after that, will you pay me for this? Just do any little step to move forward. Otherwise, a year from now, we're gonna have the same conversation. I don't know what to do next.
Hire the best people, especially if they're better than us. Always raise the standard in everything we do, in our people, our processes, and our products. And if somebody can't keep up with that standard, you got to do something about it. Otherwise, you've automatically lowered your standard.
And if you don't show up in your business loving what you turn over for your customers or your clients, your business is in decline.
The whole point is to switch you out of problem mode into solution mode. Most people can only see, these are the 152 ways that this could go wrong. And we started doing that to say, no matter how outrageous, there is a way to pull this off. So what would need to be true for this to work? Stop telling me all the things that aren't going to work. Tell me the thing that is going to work.
First reaction after understanding, identifying the problem is, okay, what does it take to get there? What's the risk and how big is the reward? Like that's the next step.
I had no business starting a business, and yet I started one. And I have found ways to create and make and sustain multiple 7-figure revenue streams. But I don't think I'm special. I strongly believe that every single business owner, once armed with what they know how to do, and once armed with the marketing, and once armed with the discipline, and once armed with the consistency, that they too can build a 6-figure revenue stream.
It's my attitude and it's my effort. You're totally in control of your attitude. And that's what I look for when I work with people and we hire people at appsumo.com. And her effort. There's literally no restriction on effort. There's no law. The only law is 24 hours. Besides that, you can work as hard as you want.
There are really 5 phases to business. There's what we call the startup phase. Then we move into perseverance. That's like pre-profit. It's when we're still wearing lots of hats and there's not enough people. We get into viability. That's phase 3. That's when we actually look at the business and it's ready for growth. Then scale, and then lastly, succession. I have a systematic way of pushing the businesses through every phase with complete intention. And that's the problem with most small business owners.
For your vision, and our vision at Ariba was really simple. We said we want to build a great sustaining company into the 21st century. And then the mission is all about leadership, because the object of the game, particularly in Silicon Valley, is to be the category king. Because when you're the category king, you get 80% of the industry resources and 80% of market cap. And then your values. So, right, integrity's there, courage, high ambition, accountability, respect, the basics. And then we had a set of team rules that kind of personify those values. And by the way, same team rules for all the companies. The first one is direct, open, and honest communication. In a word, the truth. The second one is no idea is a bad idea. And then we added parentheses, unless CEOs. So, because it's all about making a safe environment.
Sure.
And you can make the safe environment when you mock out the CEO. The third one is always raise the standard in everything we do, in our people, our processes, and our products. And if somebody can't keep up with that standard, you got to do something about it. Otherwise, you've automatically lowered your standard. And the fourth one is we're a team first and functional specialist second. So you developers put your feet in the customer's shoes. You sales guys don't make commitments we can't keep. And then the fifth one is the most powerful one of all. And that is hire the best people, especially if they're better than us.
and I'll give you a specific mentality that really works well. But I would say the success of a founder and success if you want to be an employee CEO within a company is how are you being resourceful? How are you solving the goal and the problems and the priorities with the resources that are available? Most people sit and they complain like, oh, I don't have this. Like there's a lot of people, I'm not getting paid enough. Well, what are you doing about it? Did you put together a proposal? Did you go look at comparison analysis? Did you go create more revenue so it's obvious that people should pay you more?
We play a game called No. What would it actually take? So once we sit there and go, what is our goal? To build a studio as big as Disney. All right, before you even get started, we sit there and go, what? Like, no BS. Don't try and say like the things that we want it to be true, but actually what is true, that what would need to be true in order for us to build a studio as big as Disney. And so we sat there and we said, okay, it's going to take us to put our own capital in. It's going to take us to work hard. What does work hard look like? Is it a certain amount of hours? Is it a certain amount of achievements where you put things into place and you make sure you're always incrementally working towards that? Is it that maybe you have to, so this is exactly what we did with Quest. It was, we have to put the house on the line. And that was like the no BS, that's what it's going to take for us to go all in and build Quest Nutrition. And so once we sat there and said, okay, it's going to take us to put our house on the line. It's going to take me at the time to be the supportive wife to come in and help you out. It's going to take no vacations. It's going to mean you're going to need to take 1/3 of your pay cut. Like we literally sat down and wrote a laundry list of what it's going to take to start in Quest Nutrition. And once we had that list, we just looked at each other and we're like, all right, are we willing to do it? And when the answer is yes, now you just know what you're heading towards. You know the type of path that you're about to approach. And so there's no surprises. There's no all of a sudden him coming home and going, yeah, babe, so the business isn't doing well. And so, oh my God, I'm so sorry, but we lose our house, right? There's no surprise. We've established what we're going to do in order to go for that goal. And in that comes the sacrifices. What are you willing to sacrifice? What are the things that you're okay with putting aside for now? And a lot of that was my self-esteem, my ego of like, I didn't know what I was doing. So every day I'm struggling, I'm trying to figure something out and I keep failing. But I knew that I had to learn in order to get to the goal that we wanted to get to. So I knew every day I had to get back up. And then the same with him, with the skill sets. What skill sets do I have to learn in order to get to the goal that we want to get to?
Now, if you want to achieve more wealth, you need to invest more money. How can you invest more money? You can spend less money or you can earn more money. It's as simple as that. Now, there's a limit to how much less you can spend. There is a limit to how many costs you can cut, but there's no limit to how much money you can earn. So if you've already cut back as much as possible, there's no other way that you can cut back and you still want to invest more and you want to see the returns sooner, then you got to earn more money. Now, again, how can you earn more money? Well, if you don't want to do it through starting a business or a side hustle, then you got to do it through your career. Are you at a job that will allow you to earn more money? Are you in a position that will allow you to earn more money? Maybe you have to get a certificate. Maybe you have to go back to school. Maybe you look for a different company. Maybe you look for a completely different career. Maybe you add on a second job. Now, I can't answer that question for you, but this is where you just have to be honest with yourself and see what type of life do you want to live, and are you being honest with yourself? And then you just plug in the numbers.
Like you got a guy that he's running a small tech company or a dry cleaner or whatever it is. They will get into what we call perseverance mode where they're making a little bit of money. And perseverance is like, you might be profitable 1 month, you might not be profitable the next month. You might be profitable for 6 months and then you might not be, right? And you don't have the right people in the right seats. You don't have the right systems. There's no way to scale it. But what they do is they go, okay, they start taking all their revenue and they start putting it into areas that really shouldn't be invested in until they're truly viable. And they misstep because they don't know the sequencing. What I've realized is there's a sequencing to growing businesses. And it really doesn't matter what the business is. There's a sequencing to it. And if I can actually grow the business properly, hire the right people, create the right governance layers, understand the right KPIs, right, at the right time, then I can systematically get it through that process faster than just about anyone else. I've mastered that, and that's how we grow and run and scale and potentially exit all the businesses.
Really, if you look at all the best CEOs today, the ones that I admire, almost all of them are immigrants. You know, my father's an immigrant, didn't speak English, came to this country. Satya at Microsoft, name these companies. I mean, just most of them. The guy running Google, Sundar, a lot of the ones. I mean, even Elon Musk, who is debatably a great CEO, South Africa. And so what is it with them that we can all learn from? And at AppSumo.com, we have Eamon from Iran, my father's from Israel, Alona's from Uzbekistan, Sean is from London, Vanessa's from Colombia. Like, what is it about immigrants that we can all copy? Because that is what built America was. We all came here from somewhere else. And so the two things that have really struck with me, and I saw this woman who exemplified it. Her name was Sharon. And she kicked so much, and she was working basically at the Best Western, serving breakfast. And if you've never been to a Best Western, it should be called the OK Western, right? It sucks. It sucks. But she was working like she was at, the Four Seasons. I could not believe it. She's like bringing me pancakes. She's doing all these things. And she was acting like a founder and an immigrant. I would say she is an immigrant. And I asked her, I said, tell me more. What's really going on? She's like, there's two things. It's my attitude and it's my effort. And I think immigrants have been very successful from thinking, I got to figure this out. I can work as hard as I want. I'm going to do at least my best attitude around that. And I think one of the things that's common, especially for employees, is thinking that they can't escape being an employee, right? I thought I couldn't escape being middle class. And through, it does take time, patience, and belief, and vision. And vision sounds so ominous, but a dream, a fantasy. And through that you can create the reality that you can move outside of being the employee if that's your dream, which I think everyone should be an entrepreneur, whether that's a millionaire entrepreneur, billionaire entrepreneur, at least some type of entrepreneur.
I thought it was impossible or difficult to ever position myself as an authority to be a consultant. That was impossible. I thought it was impossible to ever create a course, much less create revenue streams of multiple seven figures in the back of courses. Then I thought it was impossible to create a membership. And then I thought it was impossible to start a tech company. So the earliest part of my career was I want to become a photographer, and then I want to become a successful photographer. And then all of a sudden, the game got really slow. I could predict my income, I could predict the publicity, I could predict the resources, I could predict the connections, I could predict the publications. And when I predicted it, I loved it and I appreciated it, and then I just didn't want it anymore.
Key is when the world hands you a sack of sour lemons, the objective of the game is to turn it into sweet lemonade.
So what ends up happening for the majority of people is you end up just being a pawn in the system. You just continue fueling the system because guess what? Corporations are going to get you to spend. They hire the best marketers in the world to get you to spend more money. You're going to continue borrowing money because guess what? Banks are in the business of getting you to borrow money. And they hire some of the smartest people in the world to get you to borrow more money, to create programs to entice you to borrow more money. Salespeople are the same way. They go through trainings after trainings to learn how to sell something. Again, this doesn't make them necessarily evil. This is just the way the system works. The system is fueled by spending. What we don't have, the problem is we don't have the education to then tell us when we should spend and when we shouldn't spend.
We're always chasing the easy thing, right? The quick fix, right? The scrolling on the phone, the quick hit of dopamine, all of those pieces, where what we really want is to feel good, be happy, and have joy. Those are hard and take time and are difficult, right? It really matters to slow down sometimes. I go fast as anyone else, but sometimes we have to slow down if we want those pieces of life. That's slowing down and getting back to how do I feel, what's going on right now, and that takes a long time to get comfortable with. Like at first, it's really uncomfortable. Over time, it feels better and better.
You hear all these, I'd say fake entrepreneurs or fake coaches. They don't actually have any real businesses. They're like, you got to 10x today and you got to 5x. If you're not 5xing, you're failing. And I was like, I've done that, but it's also interesting. What if our goals now for AppSumo.com is to grow 10% next year. And it's been that for quite a lot of time. And the reality is when you set less ambitious goals for yourself, you can stick with them for longer because you're not burnt out. You're not tired. You can sustain. And then by having less ambitious goals, you also have creative freedom because you're not stressed about hitting a target. And that gives you the ability to create 10x opportunities because you're like, okay, cool. I'm not worried about making money in that, but I can go do things that potentially, be moonshots and really drive the company for the future.
Every Friday, up until we probably got to be about 100 people, we'd go around the room of what we call the round table. Anybody could say anything they want on their mind. We had 7 founders, right? And so this one guy stands up our VP of marketing, one of the founders, Bobby Lynn. And he goes, you know, this opportunity is way bigger than I ever imagined. Ariba's gonna be way more successful than even I can dream of. And he goes, I think we ought to go out and hire a real world-class VP of marketing who's done it before, and I'll focus on partnership. And you could just see jaws dropping. And the guy who came after him, I'll never forget, his name was Guy Haskins. He was about 24 years old. He just goes, Bobby, I just came from a software company. It is gonna go bankrupt any day now. But if one guy would have had the courage to say what you just said right now, we could have taken it to the moon. So from that point on, it became noble to hire the best people, especially better than us. You know, I've had the good fortune of living the American dream. And I feel really, really, really blessed. And so I think that was one of the things my parents, you know, obviously my drive comes from my upbringing. And it's about paying it forward and giving it back. And so if you look at the things, whether it's what I did in higher education or in the business world or in public service, it's all about that next generation. You know, one of the things that I started before I went off into government was called the Global Mentor Network. And it's all about mentoring tomorrow's transformational leaders at scale. So, you know, we created all these videos of these really famous transformational leaders. And so if you ask me, okay, so what would be your big legacy you want to leave behind? I think back of what my dad would always say about fatherhood. He goes, you never know if you're a good father until you see your children's children. So I would say, you know, it's all about my mentees. You never know if you're a good leader until you see your mentees, because you're teaching them how to cascade that down. And I've had some great mentors in my life. You know, there's a genealogy out here in Silicon Valley because this stuff's not written in a book, right? So you learn from the previous guy. My mom would always say the best way to learn is OPE, other people's experience. She would always say the best way to learn is from your mistakes. She goes, learn from other people's mistakes. You have time enough to make your own, right?